going to kick things off with these guys. And what a table it is. You see Pablo Mares there, the chip leader on our table with 109 big blinds. A little over 4 starting stacks. He, of course, best known for taking down the 2017 Millionaire Maker at the World Series in Las Vegas. Orpin second in chips, just under 4 million. He, of course, a high roller regular. And then a man who needs absolutely no introduction in third place, Antonio Esfandiari.
Who knows where each other's limit is?
Rodney, 90,000
like 280.
on the button.
Must try and get the best line. He's a savvy gambler, you know.
Andrew's 3-betting the small blind, ace-4 suited. Gone a little small here, but Rodney is only just over 30 bigs.
Get away with before we get caught. And it's just like the first person says 6. He's then like, oh, I'm gonna skip all this. 150. It's just like snap by, and the guy, the lot of them said like 11.
No.
And the
Said what? What was the Lawton's answer?
It was like 11 or something. To just be like, oh,
It's a great question to broadcast on television.
Wow, Queen 9-8, all spades for Andrew. The nut flush. Rodney pairs his queen.
It's not close, 150. And then 145. It's just like
145, the c-bet from Andrew with the nuts. Rodney with a clear call here, and, well, depending on how this board runs out, the brain is in danger of busting.
You can also bluff like this. Like, we're trying to set a line. We're not trying to guess what he thinks. If I think the real answer is 100 hours, but I think my opponent's going to go to 250, I'm going to try and get a better line.
Does check back. Well, he makes 2 pair on the river, but it's a 4th spade. Andrew goes 375. Really, on these spots where 1 pair is pretty much always going to fold, but Jack and 10 of spades are always going to call. Remember that when Rodney does make the call with top 2, and, well, he loses the pot, but he sees could have been worse. Andrew flopping the nuts. Andrew in the hijack. He's coming in for a raise. Pocket 5s. Makes it 85 to play. Ben looks at ace jack of clubs on the button. Does flat, and Pablo with ace king in the big blind. Squeeze incoming. Something around the 330 mark would be good. He's gone a lot bigger, 465. Gets a fold. That is what he's going to do on the button. Over 1 million in the pot already, and Ben with just over 1 million behind. Ace, Jack, 7, top 2 for Ben, top pair for Pablo, and Pablo has the hearts covered. Well, this is definitely going in. And Pablo squeezed from the big, definitely a flop. He's going to want to attack. Bets 275 to go after some of those weaker holdings that could be in Ben's range. He has an ace himself. 9 on the turn. Should imagine this will just be an all-in from Pablo. All in and a snap. Deuce of hearts of no use. Ben up to 3.3. Pablo down to 2.3.
Raise to 80,000. We raised to 225,000. All in.
Oh, here we go. Ahmed raising to 80,000 plus 1 with queens. Antonio 3-bet the button to 225. Rodney just sticking it in from the big blind. Ahmed doing the same, and Antonio just priced in now. So we have a 3-way all in. Rodney the shortest, then it's Ahmed, then Antonio covering all. Queen 7 3 1 heart on mid top set. Heart on the turn. Rodney picks up a flush draw. Omid improves. The Queen's full. Is now up to 1.7 million in chips. Having started off each table with under 300,000.
Too much. 705,000. Call. Just call. All my arts are gone.
Anatoly all in with ace king against Ben's ace 10. 9-4-3. That's a great flop for Anatoly. Not flush draw, reducing Ben to just 2 outs. Jack on the turn. Just a 10 will do it. No chop possible. Anatoly doubles 1.5 million. Ben down to 2.5.
We have Olivier Busquets on the line too.
Call.
You what? Olivier Busquets. He can fight too, I guess, huh?
He's a beast. I would not want to get in the ring with that guy.
Heads up.
Open from the cutoff. Queen 10. Garrett turning the big with Queen 3. Folds his flop so often. Open's going to want a bet range here.
50,000.
Yeah, with a small bet, backdoor diamonds, I think Garrett calls here with Queen high. King on the turn. This should check through now. And both players now playing the board. Should go check, check.
275,000.
Well, Garrett coming out with a bet here, just trying to bluff open off chops. Does let it go. Nothing open can do that. Antonio flats the cutoff with Jack 9 of spades. Garrett flat here with King 10 of hearts, but it looks like he's counting out a raise.
We raised to 425,000.
Again, not sure about this. Obviously these guys were playing earlier in the day before we got to see Omid. And so I don't know how liberally he was opening before he came to the feature table. Obviously we only saw him with about 8 big blinds. Omid is going to give it up. And Antonio has to call another 300k. Wow! Antonio moves it in. And now Antonio does have some strong hands here, flatting Omid under the gun open. He's not necessarily going to 3-bet, for example, hands like ace queen and nines. Just wasting time here. Pablo, ace 9 of diamonds. He makes the call, putting on one of those green chips, 100k a pop. Blues 5k's. Button peel, he does make the call. Ace 5 deuce. Wouldn't you believe it? The case ace pops out. Everyone with top pair.
190,000. It's like that's no intimate.
190 the bet.
Call. Fold.
Well, he decides just to give it up. Figuring one of these guys to have an ace.
Heads up. 2 players. Bet 390,000. Plus.
Pablo doesn't have a lot of strong hands here. Does decide to let it go. Well dodged, Pablo. Andrew up over 5 million chips.
Lines and attitude.
Raise from Omid, +1, ace, deuce of hearts. Anatoly peels 8-3 of spades in the big blind. And puts pair and a flush draw. Who could definitely bet here. Opened early against big blind defend on a queen 10 board. He has a lot more of that than the big blind does. Anatolia, of course, got a call with a pair and a flush draw. He's still ahead of some hands.
Check.
Well, gonna get himself in trouble here as he makes aces up via the back door. Does check.
280.
Ahmed's gonna bet 280, and this is a nice spot now for Anatoly to raise. Puts in all his 100k chips. It's enough to put Ahmed all in. King jacks as well. It will play this way. Well, he calls it off. Anatoly has a flush, and that is that for Ahmed. Pretty cruel run out. Open ace 9 of diamonds +2, raising it up. Antonio in the cutoff, but may as well have the button where Garrett's behaving.
330,000.
He's gonna raise it to 330 with 8-9 offsuit. Again, not one from the textbook. This Live Pro skills. 3 bet in the last hand before the break. Open 230 more. Of course, going to continue with ace 9 of diamonds. And what a flop for Antonio. Jack 10, 7 rainbow. Flops the nuts. Open with a gut shot draw.
Check.
And backdoor diamonds. He's going to check it to Antonio, who has a very clear c-bet here, blocking none of the pairs. And a board that could easily hit open. Well, he is going to have a look. One more card. Again, I think he just has better hands to continue with here. Doesn't need to play ace 9, but let's see what comes off. 9 on the turn. Gives him a pair, but not Kyle. He's wild about. Antonio, of course, still with the straight. But
Check.
try and rep that he had a big pair pre. This bet should now get the job done. 760. Orpin's not loving it because
700.
the buff is down. And the cards go into the muck.
Bad turn card. Bad turn card. Bad turn card.
All right, these guys are going on that 15-minute break. And we are back, and as promised, Maurice Hawkins with a bundle of chips. He has 9 million.
Raise 135,000. Soft call sign. Players all in. Tap you.
Maurice opens to 135. Paul jams 1.4 million with ace king, and Tobias finds kings behind.
Hold.
This is looking pretty bleak for Paul.
Tell me your cards, please.
Done nothing wrong here. He has run into it. And, well, MIDI has appeared on the graphics. King in the window. All but seals it. Running straight, the only chance for Paul, and it's not to be. And chip count reveal that Paul is eliminated. He is going to flat with his ace queen against the early position raise. He lets it go. King 10 7. Couple of hearts. Philippe flopping top pair. He's going to fire out a c-bet.
120.
And kind of board texture the small blind's going to continue on a lot as well. So nice to have top pair here for him. And Tam going to continue with ace high and his gut shot to Broadway. Bingo! Jack of clubs on the turn. And look at this. Tam's coming out firing. It's going to work nicely against this hand because there's no way Philippe's folding top pair on a straight draw. pairs on the river. 10 along with the nuts, but a very strong hand nonetheless. He's sizing out another bet. And look, it's pretty small. 460,000. It's an interesting one because Tam does have a strong range, having peeled from the small. Has all those full house combos pretty much. All right. Midi going to raise the button. King, queen. Griffin will be defending 7-5. These two over 100 big blinds deep. Queen 7-3. It's a flop. Midi is going to attack quite a lot. He carved 4-6, improving his hand. Bingo on the turn for Griffin. Turns 2-pair against Midi. He'll check. Expect Midi to bet again here. Once been called on the flop. Griffin has a lot of 7x that may have improved here picking up draws. 7-6, 7-4, maybe 3-4, 3-6 even. As well as, of course, weaker queens. Midi's still going to value bet a lot worse on the river. And you protect your calling range. Ace on the end. Griffin checks again. Now that was an overcard to Midi's pair. I don't think Griffin really ever has an ace here, so. And doesn't want that to happen. The snap call.
780 first.
Bad start for Midi at the feature. 800,000 chip bet on the river, snap called. Tam limps under the gun. Michael over limps. Kings +1. And Philippe finds kings in the hijack. Midi with 10s in the cutoff. That's exactly what's happened, Midi. Call, then 275. It's a pretty tough spot. He decides to flat. I like it. Well, Michael is going to spring his trap, and it gets to him. Tobias, Queen Jack of Diamonds in the big blind. Maybe he wants to come along here. When Midi's flat called that raise. Tam comes in, and now an easy jam for Michael. Oh, this is an easy jam, just be a million more. Full-on acting job taking place. So hard for him to have a hand this strong when he's over-limped +1. Does move it in. Philippe quickly moves all in behind. Wow, this is gross for Midi. There's no way he puts Michael on a hand as strong as Kings, having overlimped. A tough one for Midi. I think he's just got to the table. Doesn't really know everyone's playing yet. I think he's just going to fold this. Philippe got it in pretty quick. Well, it's all laughs and smiles for the men all in. Midi has ripped it in as well. Well, Maurice reckons it's aces. It's not, it's kings. Kings, kings and tens. It's a well set trap from Michael. Over limping kings. Ace, Jack, 6. Deuce on the turn. Queen on the end. Oh, there you go. Tam frustrated because he'd have made a nut flush. Griffin in the small. He completes king 9. Tobias in 9 deuce in the big. Griffin happy to check it to Tobias. Yeah, I think with a undercard to the board, could bet this one. Decides to check back. Picks up a flush draw on the turn. Very good card for him, and a good card for Griffin as well. Still has second pair, almost certainly the best hand here, the way this is played. Checks it again. Alright. Quite a dangerous board to check it on. Certainly some worse hands that can call. Tobias betting 130, a little over 2/3 on this kind of board. Griffin calls and a diamond on the end. Tobias has made that flush.
$450.
Oh, he's gone bigger. He's gone pot. It's a really tough spot for Griffin now. This is a really tricky spot. Oh, he has found the fold. Guess he's calling. If he calls where he's hoping to bias, it's just got. Lets it go. Blind's going up to 35.70. And that's how things will affect our chip stacks. It'll be Michael on 30 bigs at the bottom. Midi, 7th of 8th on this table, still with 50 bigs, very comfortable.
Yeah, my roommate.
Michael flatting 9s on the button. And Philippe calling with King Deuce suited in the big. Jack 8, 5, 2 spades.
Bet.
And sizing up a little bit, given the nature of the board. His betting range here is smaller than it might be on some others, so has a stronger range. That's a bigger bet. And raise he does. It's going to make it 980. This is a huge bet and a big misstep. Manning's just going to shove here. Not loving it, of course. Especially given he has the King of Spades in his hand. He'd love Michael to have some flush draw combos involve the King of Spades. He does just move all in. And Michael's going to take some time and then fold. Yeah, it was a pretty big mistake here from Michael. Is Mike McDonald headlining the new feature table here at the PartyPoker Live Millions North America main event. Does make the call, and Centurion, well, he has no hand, no reason to be in this one any longer. Well, what is he doing here? Alright, we're getting out of line. 625. Daniel's gonna give it up, and this is gonna work. And reading in the chat, I do see that someone's saying, if you haven't played with Centurion yet, Centurion just flats after all this craziness from the small with queens. I don't know whether he's hoping Nicola jams and traps Louis, but given how absurd he's been playing, I assume he's been playing absurd before we came to this feature table. I'm surprised he doesn't go for it there. It's definitely a spot where Louis is going to be opening a lot of hands. 9-5-3, all clubs. Centurion has queens with the queen of clubs, but it is Louis with the king of clubs in his ace-king that has the live flush draw here over 2 streets, and he's got a pretty good candidate to go bluffing. But he does decide to check back. 4 on the turn. Check, check once more. Louis now has a gut shot draw to the wheel, as well as his flush draw and 2 overs. Unbelievably, this checks through again. 7 on the end, but I'm betting, but he's going to go small, I guess. Well, 450. Nickel limp calling the raise. Louis with the pre-flop raiser. Well, he does call. A little optimistic, perhaps.
For the ship, man. For the ship for you, man. Huh?
Take it all.
I know that. I was hoping, man. It's good. I know that.
Got a 3,000. Any.
Two-thirds of the pot. Obviously, a lot of Daniel's bluffs on the turn were flush draws. Does make the call and gets the bad news. Don't think you can fold that one. So chalk that up to a little bit of a cold deck the way that's played. Daniel makes the call from the small with his king queen. Queen 4-5, the Australian flopping top pair. Louis, of course, 3 to a straight, 3 to a flush. You can definitely bet here.
Got a 220,000.
Yeah, and against an under the gun raise, no play here but to call. Oh, king of clubs on the turn. Daniel turns top 2. Louis, though, finds one of those cards that he's going to have to keep betting on. And of course, with a jack and 10 in his own hand, blocking some of that queen X.
Got a 350,000.
Of course, not blocking king queen, unfortunately for him. He does do so. It'd be interesting to see what happens on a brick. Well, that is not a brick, that is a king. And it's not the best card for Louis to bluff if he's trying to rep some king X on the turn. Actually, that's not true. I suppose aces is still a pretty clear value, but of course, queen 4-5 rainbow flop. Does move all in. He set it up on the turn with his bet sizing. Josh from the hijack is going to raise 10s, of course.
Blinds will be up next time.
Centurion in the big.
175.
He's going to peel with 5-3 off. All right.
Heads up.
Squid in the mix.
At 125. It's on that side.
Yeah, I broke my other one last week. So
For the 125 bet, and now turns a pair.
Check.
He checks. Expect Josh to size up a little bit here.
300,000.
Well, he's gone smaller again. 300 into 720. I would like to see a little larger. Centurion probably suspicious of the smaller bet, but with a pair and a gut shot, of course, we're going to call. And it makes us straight on the river. And Centurion does just jam it in.
Table both hands. Got it.
And snap call from Josh. He'd already made his mind up. And Centurion up to 4.5 million. Josh is going to be out once the chips are counted. Olivia opens sixes from the hijack 225. Nicola appeals the small with ace-10 suited. Daniel's going to do the same with king-jack suited in the big blind. Got 3 real hands heading to the flop. Ace-5, deuce, 2 spades. Nicola out in front now. Does bet and bet small, 225. Nicola, of course, with an easy call. Daniel with an easy fold. 3 of spades on the turn. Olivia has a flush draw and a gut shot draw now to go with his pair. But this should go check, check. Well, Olivia is going to put the pressure on with the 6 of spades. You know, Nicola's been a little gun shy up to now, so. But it will take a third bullet to get that job done. How about just hit a 6? Plan B. The giniest of cards. Almost impossible for Nicola to have a 4 here.
Bet 425.
And he has gone quarter. Well, actually closer to a 5th of the pot. This is purely an exploit sizing. It's going to work. Yeah, pretty unlucky that. It'd be much more interesting to see what would happen on a different river, where Olivia would have jammed. He set it up for a pot-sized bet behind. Leave it to Centurion in the big. He looks at 6-7 of clubs. That'll be appeal. He may get himself in a little bit of trouble here as Olivia has flopped second set Centurion with a gut shot draw and backdoor flush draw. And we know he's a man who likes to go off on little adventures.
Bet 150.
Deciding just to call this time. Wow. 5 on the turn. That'll be the nuts against a set. This pot's going to get big.
300,000.
Goes 1/3 pot to this action. 1.5 in there. Any river bet's always going to be targeting, and like Jack X, well, Queen on the end, 9-10 the new nuts, but neither player will be too concerned about that. 1.15 the bet from Centurion.
1 million rounds.
He could conceivably have 9-10. That's a hand he might check call the flop with and lead turn. And Olivia, wow, look at this. Maybe that queen is going to save him. Well, he's given that face. I don't think he's ever raising, so he's going to get everything cool. And the nuts shown. Well, that queen may have saved him doing more. Centurion up over 6 million now.
Oh, 225.
And Daniel's going to flat the button with ace-6 of diamonds. Timex and Sam for their blinds. We go 3-way to the flop. Queen 7-8. This is going to be a bit of a bad one for Nicola. Centurion checks.
Bet 325,000.
No, it's going to flat. Hope a brick comes and Nicola will commit himself. There it is. 3 of diamonds on the turn. Centurion checks once more. Bet 550. 1.4 behind. The time is now, I think.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I think he's the type
All in declared.
coaching. He was just like so early in his whole career, but so sharp kind of thing. Like I think. Yeah, 2011.
Really hard for Nicola to fold this one.
Like a lot of guys just have this. Oh, I'm good enough to get top 9.
Yeah, he does throw the chip into the pot and gets the bad news. Needs to find a king or queen on the river for another double up. 6 it is. Centurion up to just short of 10 million chips. That's going to make things a little bit more interesting around here on our feature table. So, we are going to play 60k, 120k for the next hour. And Tom brings with him 25 big blinds. And a little bit more than Severin and Steve. But you can see one of the shorter stacks here with 25 bigs. Centurion with 3 deuce off in the pig. No surprise to see him defending. Check from Centurion over to Tom. And with the Jack of Spades, he's going to bet here 200,000. Should be the end of this hand. Nope, here we go. He's got the 3 of Spades, that's enough. King of Spades on the turn. It's definitely a good card for Tom to barrel off. Alright, he's happy to try and make his hand on the river. And he's done just that. Pairs a jack. Pretty much everything he called the flop with has made something by the river. There you go, he's moved all in for 2 times the pot. And the man wins another pot he's not supposed to. Daniel will call from the big with ace-10 of clubs. 2 playable hands, 2 medium stacks. And king, king, 9, 2 diamonds. Sam pops an up flush draw. Oh, looks like he's going to go for a check raise instead. Put a lot of pressure on Sam, of course. Not going to work in this instance. And Sam does make the call. Daniel not enjoying that one bit. But club on the turn, well, he's going to barrel off. Oh, he is betting pretty big. 950.
5, 4, 3.
Please don't do that. Don't need to do that. I know.
Sam does make the call. So he is ahead of some hands still. It's funny, that reaction Sam had to the dealer counting down. It's hard to imagine he's doing that from a position of strength. I don't think he'd not tell the dealer off, but ask him to stop counting down if he had a strong hand. It'd be pretty strong level if he did do that. But he did look visibly frustrated. Goes check, check, and it's a chop. Sam raising the button. Ace, deuce. Olivia calls the big with ace 3. And ace, ace, queen. Wouldn't you know it? Both players flipping trips, albeit with non-existent kickers. Favors the button far more than the big blind peeler. Sam's going to bet this flop near 100%, so we're going to throw in ace deuce into the mix. Would call here with some weaker hands. All his gut shot draws. Some king high, obviously queen X. Alright. We're going to come out with a small check raise. In the same vein. If we ever want to have some check raise bluffs here, we've got to have some check raise for value. Four on the turn. Now does check, feigning a failed bluff. Sam gonna check back. You know Sam can have some king X here. Peel the check raise, as well as queen X. And he's gonna bet and target that range. Wow, he moves all in. Wow, this is a sick play. This is unbelievable. He's trying to bluff Olivia off the chop. Knows Olivia just doesn't have ace king, ace queen when he peels from the big blind. Does call. And it is a chop. Sam forced him to put the cape on near the end of the day and near the money in this $10,000 buy-in event. Alright, Daniel from the button has ace 6 of clubs. He'll need a fader club as we head to the turn. Jack of diamonds. Eight on the river. Well, here we go. Gonna try and rep something big. 1.4 million. It's gonna work because Daniel has missed clubs himself. He's going to check it on over to Centurion.
300.
$300k is the bet. Easy call for Timex with second pair. Ace on the turn. Timex checks now. Will Centurion follow up? Checks back. Deuce of clubs on the river. This is actually a credible line for Centurion to fire a bluff now. We'll check back his King X's on the turn, or some of them at least. Potentially check back Ace X. Can have flush draws as well. Bets 900 into 1.5. Mike has a lot of 7x, 5x. Some missed straight draws, of course, that would just fold. Some kings. Doesn't block straight draws either around the 5-7. He does make the call. And a good call it is. As he wins yet another pot, gets over 12 million. Centurion down to 7.3. Alright, some action from the outer tables. Look around the room. Spot your favourites. This is what's left of the field. 66 players. There we are, waiting for all these hands to play out before dealing our next one. There's DD fast with about 20 million in front of him. So it has improved from when I last saw him. That stack of whites worth 10 million on its own. He'll be enjoying this bubble scenario. Do notice Midi missing from that table. I only assume he has busted. Bryn in the mix, flying under the radar so far in this tournament. And I think in the green hoodie there, Pesh, who was on our feature table yesterday.
We can talk after, but I think I was doing something kind of cool there.
Oh.
Well, Mike went with a live read. Didn't work, but
I kind of owned you. I don't know.
That's an odd one for Tom. One blind more. 3 away from the money. He's going to let it go.
I started on like 8.9.
That would have been pretty funny if I was not trying to like add insult to injury if I was there or whatnot.
Just trying to end my career.
Wow, we have an action flop here. Nut flush draw for Ben. Pair and a flush draw for Centurion.
400,000. Might get
5 on the turn. Ben checks against and turn. That's exactly what he does do on the turn. King on the river. This will go check, bet, fold. Check, check. Okay, we're playing tight at the end. Alright, there are some big pots going on in the room. Bryn pulling one in, it looks like there, towards the end of the day.
Could have put me in a river jam spot there.
Yeah, it would have been much worse if I would have gotten the fall.
Everyone, time to bag the chip.
That would have been like a 4 million fun.
Alright, these guys finished.
We need your first name, last name, player, and the chip count on the bag, please.
See if we get any last minute busts outs here at the end of day 2. Our feature table stacking chips. And this is how the feature table finishes. Sam Grafton with a couple of eliminations late on the day is bagging the feature table chip lead. He has 13 million, which equates to 81 big blinds when these guys come back tomorrow. They are going to play 81-60. It is Tom Hall on just 10 bigs when they come back tomorrow, who is in the firing line. Remember, just a few eliminations from the money. Daniel and Olivia, well, they'll be hoping the bubble goes quickly so they can start manoeuvring their stacks. Thanks again, everyone, for watching today. I hope you've enjoyed the show, and there'll be more of it tomorrow as we play the PartyPoker Live Millions North America main event day 3 here at the Playground Poker Club in Montreal.